Well, for Scott Walker, the hits just keep on coming. If it's not the White House piling on him, now unions are suing him, insisting the Wisconsin governor's right-to-work law isn't about protecting workers, it's about destroying them. Walker disagrees, saying that he is merely giving those workers a choice. Pay union dues if you want to be part of a union, don't if you don't want to be. Judge Napolitano says this is all about the First Amendment. Explain, Judge.
It is actually the Supreme Court which says this is all about the First Amendment. It's also all about states' rights. If a state legislature decides it wants a union shop, as we have here in New York, so if you work in an industry that is unionized, you must join that union, it can do so. If a state wants to have a non-union shop, as they now have in Wisconsin, you work in an industry that's unionized, you have the choice, a free choice as to whether or not to join the union. That's constitutional. So this lawsuit challenging this legislation that Governor Walker signed very recently is a frivolous lawsuit. The unions will lose, and they'll probably end up paying the state's legal bill to defend the lawsuit. That's how frivolous this is.
What about their argument, the gist of which is that's fine for all of these folks who don't want to be paying union dues and all, but they're in the position they are and getting the salary they are because of deals that were extracted by unions on their behalf.
That was rejected, but that argument was rejected by the legislature, which basically says the individual choice is a higher good than your ability to force them to pay you for the benefits that you got them.
I didn't understand that, but I'm outraged.
Well, that's been the law. That's been the law of the land for years.
So anyone who's trying to overturn him or make life difficult for him or say he's anti-worker, you're saying what?
They'll lose. Look, there may be some technical Wisconsin problem with the statute that, as a New Jersey lawyer, I'm unaware of. But big picture, the federal courts do not interfere with state legislatures when they decide union shop, non-union shop.
And right-to-work states tend to be doing much better.
This is a very liberal state. For this state to go right to work is telling on the national scene for Governor Walker's political prowess.
Rich in electoral votes, a swing state, all the obvious.
Yes.
Judge, I want to get this by you, too, because before you sign the line on that lease, you might want to check what it says about doing anything online about that lease. Here's the gist of it. A Florida apartment complex is forcing new tenants to sign a social media addendum that threatens a fine of $10,000 if they give the place a bad review online. Judge, can you force someone to sign something to tell them to shut up?
No. Well, if they sign it and the landlord believes they're going to follow it, the landlord would never find a court to enforce it. No court will punish you for exercising free speech, except in the following situation. If you sign a master lease when you are purchasing a condominium, and as a part of the deed you have agreed not to say thus and so, or not to put a political poster on your front door, that's entirely different than when you are a tenant in somebody else's property. When you give up that right, when you purchase the property, there are, state by state, there are states that enforce it and states that don't. In our home state in New Jersey, free speech prevails, no matter what you agreed to. In Florida, the courts will enforce the agreement that you signed on the dotted line.
But if you sign this lease with that proviso,
as a tenant, there isn't a court in the country that would silence you. So even if you do sign it, it's not enforceable.
You are so good at this. You might have a future talking about legal issues.
You didn't hear that from me. Here? It's only been 17 years.
You didn't hear that from me, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Pleasure.
Amazing. Not one or ah. I'm going to get him one of these days. Meanwhile, be careful what you minimum wage protesters wish for. Sometimes you lose the higher wage and the job that goes with it.